and welcome to the ICT Pulse podcast. I'm Michelle Marius, your host and the editor and publisher of ICT Pulse, the online platform where we discuss ICT issues from a Caribbean perspective. Today we are in for a treat. We have Ingrid Riley, founder of Silicon Caribe Media, which operates the platform Silicon Caribe, and up until the end of June organized and hosted Kingston BETA, the long-running tech community meetup held in Kingston, Jamaica, which has been the model for similar events across the region. Ingrid is no stranger to ICT Pulse, having been interviewed over 6 years ago, so we are overdue for a catch-up. Ingrid, thanks for coming and joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be on your podcast.
Before we address the elephant in the room, Kingston BETA, which was such a force in the Jamaica tech community, let's go back.
Okay.
You started out in communications and journalism, writing for various newspapers and the like, but now you are a tech ecosystem pioneer, tech entrepreneur, tech organizer. How did that happen? And why did you change paths?
I don't know. It's weird. I think just kind of fell into it because it was just a natural, I think, following curiosity. I think having left the community, left journalism a long time and gone into communications and digital communications, I partnered with Suzanne Leaquey, and we co-founded this interactive agency called Dutchpot Interactive. And I had the whole agency thing. I'm doing digital marketing and email marketing and website development for primarily Jamaican and Caribbean brands. And just curiosity again, I heard about these things called meetups and, this beautiful thing called the internet. And we had done Jamaica's and the Caribbean's first internet guide called iGuide. And by that time, too, we both worked for the same American.com startup called Homeview. So, and then this idea for Kingston BETA came up. So it really just kind of following a curiosity and evolution, if I have to look back, and just kind of flowing with it and see where it went. And then it just kind of one thing led to another, and here I am.
So let's talk more about, pivoted. I guess it's one thing led to another. You seem to have had, several startups, some successful, others not so much.
Oh God, yes.
But you don't seem to have a difficulty shutting them down or changing track.
Not publicly anyway, no difficulty.
Well, let's jump into that. Have you been able to make peace with stepping away from something that you built and nurtured and grew and then decided, all right, maybe it's time to pack it in?
If it's one thing that this journey has taught me is, one, not to fall in love with the idea, and two, know when to call it quits. And certain things could definitely help you along. I mean, I was involved with a couple of guys to do Carrot Clicks, which was the first online advertising platform, and we all put in like $1,000 and tried different things, and it went nowhere. And then I got involved with one of the first Caribbean social networks called Caribbean Massive. That went very, very well, but then came Facebook, and so over time, you go through the grieving process. I mean, sometimes I publicly let it out, but most times I'm like, okay, that didn't work. It failed. What did I learn? That kind of a thing. And there's sometimes you really grieve because it's like, gosh, I was too early again. Shoot, right? Or did we miss something? That kind of a stuff. Mm-hmm. But you, especially in this world of tech and internet, you had better learn how to, as they say, fail fast, and learn and move on. And it's like going to the gym. It's muscles. You grow the muscles over time. So yeah, I don't think it gets easier. I think you just get better at being more practical about making a decision to move on.
Okay. So let's now deal with Kingston BETA. Right? Because clearly that was like 10 or 11 years of your life right there.
Oh God, yes.
Right? But for our listeners who haven't heard about it before, experienced it before, give us a sense of what it was about.
Kingston BETA started out of a very selfish need, really. For Susan and I to find out who else was in the internet and digital space. And I was I guess maybe because of my journalism background, I became like this magnet for information. People always telling me what was going on, or they were asking me what was going on. So we decided to just send out do an ad, and I don't remember, to this day I can't remember how we came up with the name Kingston BETA, but I know I came up with it and Suzanne did the logo for it. That was pretty much it, and then we went on. So it was really a gathering of people who were trying different things online and trying to make a business, and at that time we had Jamaican versions of Yahoo, which was top5jamaica.com. We had versions of eBay, jamdeal.com. We had versions of Facebook, caribbeanmassive.com, and go on and on and on. And we just kind of want to bring people together to learn, to connect and network.
Right.
And so we had it once, and people loved it, and said, all right, we're only going to have it once.
Mm-hmm.
And then people were like, no, man, have it another time. And then we ended up having it for every month, and it was like, whoa, because this is coming out of Dutchpot Interactive Pocket, right? And we didn't have any sponsors at the time, and people were only paying like $600 Jamaican back in 2007, which could not cover the costs.
Yes.
So it just kind of evolved, and even though this is almost 11 and a half years, I still can't believe it's 11 years.
Yes.
I haven't even had a relationship that has lasted 11 years. So I'm just amazed that it has morphed into this experience where aspiring entrepreneurs, creatives, social media people, anybody who is interested in trying to figure out how to leverage this thing called the internet and create a job or create a business or whatever they want to do, we come together. We may hear a guest speaker, we may hear a panel, and what is always popular is people coming to pitch their ideas.
Yes.
And so pitching ideas could be ideas or fully formed prototypes or things that are already in the market, and it's like a peer-to-peer learning. It's because there's always somebody who did it before you, or somebody who can tell you, oh, well, boy, I've burnt through X amount of money for that, so you may want to try something different. So it was great community, and it was a safe place to fail. It was a safe place to ask stupid questions. It was a safe place to learn. And that just kind of kept going. We had people from high school all the way to people who were in their 60s. And it just kind of blossomed into this thing that led to other events and doing all manner of different things. So yeah, it's 11 years of that.
Are there any memorable experiences at Kingston BETA that you can recall?
Holy. I've gone through periods where I've seen high school students outrank some of the more seasoned entrepreneurs in terms of ideas and pitching. I've seen where the house is full, almost 200 people in the audience, and we have pitches from the Caribbean or from the diaspora. I've seen where we've basically schooled a deputy governor, Bank of Jamaica, about how we find workarounds because they're too slow in their legislation to catch up with our innovation. And there's just times that I just sit and I smile and I was like, ask myself, why do people come here again? and I smile when people just say, boy, Ingrid, I'm really glad that I came because I met this person, or I found my co-founder, or I found somebody to invest in me, or I don't feel so crazy, or I don't feel so alone. It was like 11 years of entrepreneurial therapy, if you want to put it that way, an entrepreneurial inspiration. So for me, the entire journey is memorable, and I'm still unpacking some of it, actually, to be honest.
And I guess if you've been having Kingston BETA, well, I guess it used to be monthly and then it became every other month.
Right.
So what do you think its impact has been on the tech entrepreneur landscape in Jamaica at least, and in the wider Caribbean, if anything?
Well, from a numbers point of view, we've done over 100 events. We've had over 10,000 attendees. We've had almost 400 entrepreneurs from 8 Caribbean countries who have pitched their ideas. And I think the impact, at least what I'm hoping the impact is that, and what I'm hearing back is that people see possibility. See possibility in the digital space, see possibility in owning that power that they have to leverage this beautiful thing called the internet and do great things for themselves or for their neighborhood and for their country. And that spirit of ownership or in spirit of choice, the playing field has been leveled. Now, what are you going to do with it? What are you going to do about it?
Yes.
And so I tell people, even though we've shuttered the event series, I think the Kingston BETA effect will continue, and we can always have an annual reunion.
Very good. So why did you make the decision to end this?
When it was approaching the 10th anniversary, in fact, somebody had to tell me it was the 10th anniversary.
Right.
Because, you're just going. And please remember, Kingston BETA, while it's an event, it was a community that required certain things. And it was other involvements because of that. And here's the thing, it wasn't really a full-time thing for me. And even though I was traveling and speaking and taking startups with me and advising governments and being involved with international aid agencies on different levels and stuff like that, it was not a full-time thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And when it was approaching the 10th, I was like, all right, 10 is good. I think it's cool. Yeah, I made my contribution and that kind of a thing. And then for some reason, I was almost like breaking out in hives. I couldn't let it go. And even though I made a presentation like, yes, I'm look at all these new community leaders that have come up, look at these startups that have come from the community, and look at all the events and stuff that we've spawned, the people that we've touched and everything. And I was going to say, thank you for coming to the final, and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And so I sat with it. I held on for another year because but at that 10th anniversary, I closed the non-profit side, because it was really a non-profit scenario. It was because everything was done under this name called Connectimas. And I had SiliconCaribe.com, the blog, for all that time as well, going on and off and stuff like that. So I said, maybe I should transition into making all of this stuff that I've done into a business. And maybe since I've done all these events, I certainly have the chops to produce more type of events. We became the largest producer of Caribbean technology events for entrepreneurs and for businesses. So can I turn this into an event? So the evolution started in the 10th anniversary to Silicon Caribe Media. Then I got to the point too where the financials weren't making sense for me. And I was also burnt out a little bit. I hadn't had a vacation in 4 years, and I wanted to see what else I could do. It was personal as well as definitely business. But I would lie to you if I say it wasn't probably primarily personal. Because I want to see, I'm in my 40s. I'm looking at 50 going, hello. Right? I was like, I started this thing in my 30s, and I was like, crap, I'm in my 40s already. Wow, I should not have blinked. And I was like, what's next for me? And I kind of want to shake things up and do things differently. Yeah. So I already miss, having had the event on June 28th there, I'm already having withdrawal symptoms, right? But there is also a sense of peace that I did the right thing. And because sometimes you have to disrupt yourself. Yes. And you challenge yourself and you kick yourself to doing something differently. And I challenge the community. If you believe that this gap is now there, then you roll up your sleeves and rise up and fill the space as well. Yes. You all can do it. And I'll happily come and, sit in the back with a glass of wine and be smiling. You know what I mean? So it was primarily personal because I want to see what next I can come up with and what next I can.
Well, as you had gone through with sharing with us how you eventually came to ending this era of Kingston BETA, it looks as if you've been consolidating over the last year and a half or so. So you've shut down Connectimas, you killed Kingston BETA.
Didn't kill me. I lovingly put it to bed. I handed it back to the community.
Right? You do a lot of work in digital media strategy, and I gathered that you've sort of stepped away from that.
Kill it dead.
Oh, you killed that dead.
Kill it dead. Okay. I got bored with it.
Okay.
I've been in digital marketing space since 2004. I've worked with over 50 Caribbean brands. My biggest client was Jamaica Tourist Board. We took them digital for 4 years and then handed it back to them. Did a whole bunch of different things with them. But I just got bored. And having gone through the cycle with web development when I had Dutchpot Interactive, I saw digital marketing approaching that scenario here in Jamaica, where every nigger, bat, and gingerfly was a digital marketing strategist. And so what's happened? Even though you may be one of the gold star strategists, people will think you're as expensive. And so you have a choice to lower your price or evolve into a different market.
Yes.
And somewhat, so I've evolved a little bit. I mean, I've killed it as a service, but if people ask me now to say coach them, because as coaching some young entrepreneur about how to create a personal brand that drives her business,
yes,
then I do that. Because that's interesting. I like the one-on-one coaching. So that was interesting to discover. So maybe I'll pursue that. I'm not sure, because it's something I can do anywhere where I am in the world. But I also fell out of love with that, and I wanted to see what was going to be next. And it could be coaching entrepreneurs on how to leverage digital to grow their business. I don't know.
Okay, so
I generally don't know.
That's still a work in progress.
It's still a work in progress. I mean, there's some things I was clear cut about, and there's some things I'm still figuring out, to be honest. And I'm okay. I'm learning to be patient with myself in the process. Even though my bank account is like, yeah, really? You try be a little bit faster, right? But I have to give myself this space in between to get clear about what next. And which is one thing that I've learned over the last 11 years. When I trust my gut,
yes,
I'm good. When I don't, you screw yourself. So I'm waiting for that right feeling.
Okay, fair enough. No, and I definitely agree, because you can be on the treadmill so much that you don't know anymore what it is you want, what you should be doing.
Yes, yes. And that's why I say it's good to sort of jolt yourself and disrupt yourself. When people least expect it. I thought people were going to be quite okay with me walking away. People were like, where you go? What do you mean? Why you're at 11? I said, it's at year 11. It says, yeah, but people can go on to 15 and 20. And the thought of it made me break out in hives. I was like, really? Lord, no. But I think because there are opportunities before me. Yes, I'm definitely going to do different kind of events coming up. And I've tried and I've tested that already. I've done a trend forum on blockchain. It was sold out. I've done an event in New York with Black Tech Week, and we're exploring doing more. There are a couple of other ideas that I'm thinking about, and we'll see. I have this thing called Sunset Innovation Report that I do every week. We'll see where that goes.
Yes.
But honestly, right now, I'm focused on taking a vacation.
Yes.
And be off for a couple of weeks and give myself a different kind of environment, kind of stimuli, and see what comes from that. I'm really trying to work a process here.
Okay.
I don't have all the answers at all.
Thanks for being so honest. So just thinking though, since you've been in the space for quite some time, even before Kingston BETA, how has it changed over like the last 10, 12 years?
Oh God. We're in what I call the post-hype phase. Now, the first 5 years, people thought that I was crazy. We were all crazy. Like, who the hell are these people and why are they gathering? And they look at us with this sort of scornful curiosity.
Yes.
And then, because the rest of the world was talking about startups and tech entrepreneurship and innovation and that kind of thing, around 2011, 2012, all of a sudden everybody's like, hold on a second there. But then people are ahead of me or ahead of our time or whatever it is. And it's like, let me go and see what is going on and who is doing whatever it is. And that's when, we won a couple of awards for what we were doing in the community. Politicians start to come and want to speak and want audience with you. You've been invited to speak around the world because I've been all over the place. Give thanks. And so that was what I call the mega hype phase, right? Between 2011 and up to as much as 2015.
Yes.
And then the people realize, oh, this shit is hard. It is not for the faint-hearted. One, entrepreneurship is not for everybody, and that's fine. Just like 9 to 5 is not for everybody either. That doing this event and doing Kingston BETA and doing this community stuff is also not very easy. And all the various people who could play a part of the ecosystem started to feel out, okay, well, what part do we play? What government is supposed to do? What places like Development Bank is supposed to do. These people who fly in on planes from DC, from international aid agencies, should they have a say? How do we collaborate more with our people in the Caribbean or in the diaspora? So everybody's also trying to figure out their role in this thing called an ecosystem, and should we have one, and why, and how is it going to figure out? And so now we are in 2018. We've had a couple of entrepreneurs who have failed. They have cycled through 1, 2, 3, 4 startups. People who have had buyouts, mini buyouts, and gone on to their next thing. People who have just failed and said, no, a job is for me. And that's the whole thing about when you become part of a community. You figure out who you are, and you figure out what your role, what your place is, and what you like and what you don't like. And so I call it right now, it's very quiet somewhat, where people are more willing to show than tell, to work and then talk about it. We have government looking to really kind of entrench legislation that facilitates, and things like data protection or potential incentives. We'll see where the corporates across Jamaica and the region saying, hey, maybe we should think about investing in startups, or maybe adopting an agile startup mentality in terms of our approach to corporate innovation. And so a lot of interesting things are happening. So I think just the process of what is happening globally, what is happening regionally, and what they're seeing definitely as a nucleus here in Jamaica, it's spawning a different mentality, because we realize that being a startup and tech and entrepreneurship and innovation is not a fad. It is a factor of the digital age. It has leveled the playing field. People no longer need to have a certain last name or a certain address or to have a degree to achieve certain things. They can learn skills online for free or for a little bit. They can go on certain platforms and get jobs. They can earn foreign exchange. They can either choose to keep their money offshore or bring it in. They are in charge of their own economic prosperity. And that's something that I've always championed through Kingston BETA, that here is your opportunity. What are you going to do with it? You have to wait on government. You have to wait on a parent. You have to wait on anybody. How do you spend your time? How do you spend your time online? Why not use it to learn and do different things? And if you eventually go off and get a job, fine. If you create your own job and you do your thing, if you have a website that's making you money, whatever it is, but the opportunity, the vast opportunities are just endless. And I think as a country, Jamaica, which has 56% of its population that are pretty young, we ought to be pumping this message from their 3 up to anybody who is in their 60s, because they also realize that because of this digital age, we all have to evolve and learn new skills. And the whole idea of having one job until you retire and you're 64 is over. In fact, retiring at 64 is also over. And that's a beautiful thing. And people who, I love the fact that we have this trend called digital nomads. Jamaicans and Caribbean people are doing it. They're in Bali, they're in Punjab or wherever it is, traveling, and yet still they have internet access. They create community where they are. They're living lives on their own terms. And that's a beautiful thing about this digital age and about embracing this beautiful thing called the internet.
Okay, great. So having had that sort of very clear picture as to where you think the whole industry is going here in the region, what do you think are the region's greatest strengths or benefits in the tech ecosystem to support and facilitate the tech ecosystem?
I've always had this thesis that each Caribbean nation needs to do this. They need to have a look at what their unfair advantages are as a nation. For us in Jamaica, it's sports, it's our culture, and a little bit of our tourism. How do we then marry that with tech or digital to give ourselves even a greater unfair advantage where it can really benefit our people locally? It can maybe solve problems globally. It can definitely put us on the global digital map. And so I think each Caribbean nation should have a look at its own strengths and and also its own constraints that are unique that they can leverage.
Mm-hmm.
You see Barbados going to be the blockchain capital of the region.
And Bahamas as well, I think.
And Bahamas, everybody's like running for that, let me tell you. And then there's Aruba, who, wants to be the capital of wherever it is. So there's going to be different Caribbean nations trying to reposition themselves. I hear that Jamaica wants to position itself as cybersecurity capital and that kind of stuff. But I just think that each Caribbean nation has to look at itself, and it doesn't necessarily have to be led by governments.
Right.
It can be led by private sector. It can be led by entrepreneurs, students. Look at what our strengths are, or our current unfair advantages. Marry it with tech and things digital, and then how can we then make money from that and empower our people, learn new skills, and just do in different things with that. So that to me, it's probably going to be something I want to talk a lot about,
right,
over the next couple of years, and that we should do it, and possibly how we can go about doing it.
Yeah, because as you're talking, the whole issue, because I guess ultimately what you're talking about is probably trying to set up some sort of cluster initially that would then drive this ecosystem. So whether or not, you think that if it's sports, let's say here in Jamaica, that you set up some sort of cluster that perhaps deals with sports, sees how you can leverage it with technology, etc. And then that then becomes almost like the seed to transform the ecosystem down the road.
Yeah, because you know me personally, I don't exactly have a great love affair for BPOs.
Right.
And BPOs at a certain level. I mean, I see that there's a sort of a rising trend of what I call boutique dev shops, and that's fine because at least that's a higher level of outsourcing that actually leaves the wealth here in Jamaica to circulate.
Right.
And it actually teaches the people who are involved new skills that they can then learn from within or outside of that particular entity. So, it's, and I totally lost my train of thought there.
Well, I guess it's all about the fact that at least you're adding various dimensions to the ways in which the country can prosper, where individuals can drive their own destiny.
Exactly, and that's the whole point. We don't have to and should not wait on anybody. Don't wait on the venture capital to gain money. That don't make no sense, right? They only pumped investments to around 10% of startups around the world anyway. Don't wait for government to do this, because legislation and whatever alignment from government tend to come after innovation happens. What we need for them to do is just simply stay out of the way. You don't have to wait for corporate to cut you a check or become a partner. I mean, if you are truly an entrepreneur, then you're going to realize you're going to drop and bust your teeth every now and again, or you're going to have to muscle your way and do different things a little bit differently. And the fact that you have this thing called the internet, and you can work with people wherever they are in the world and form teams with people all over the world, you really can do things differently. You know how it for nobody.
Yes.
Nobody at all. And so, and some people are still adjusting to that power.
Yes.
They don't know how to handle it, that power and responsibility. Because it's always easy to say, boy, the government not do this, or so-and-so now to that. But when you realize that it's all on you and you have no excuse,
that's a completely different
thing. And that's where we all are right now. What are you gonna? There's a fantastic opportunity. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah, truth.
That's the truth. What are you going to do with it? It's a question I ask myself. I've always wanted to, having done Kingston BETA, and I'm really trying to figure out if I should make this my year of traveling and just going into different things and traveling for Ingrid, not because I'm being invited to speak or I'm taking somebody with me, just sort of indulge my wanderlust, because there's a lot to see and experience. And because I have the ability to do an event anywhere or to find ways of making money wherever I am, I can do it. Right. So I'm asking myself, should I not do that now?
So what are some of your bucket list countries?
Bucket list countries? I want to walk on the Chinese Wall. I want to definitely go to India and feel the imperfectly chaos of India. I definitely want to do the, eat, pray, love thing in Bali. Do yoga. in Bali. I have to go to Ghana. I want to go to Morocco, without question. Costa Rica, do a little bit of immersion there. And that's kind of what I think. And maybe I shouldn't know. I'm not enamored by Canada for any way, shape, or form, but maybe I should pop to Toronto or Montreal or something like that. But yeah, that's there.
Okay, great. So let's just pivot a bit to talk about the fact that, you are a woman in tech, right? And I know that is a subject near and dear to your heart. But what has been your experience, I guess, moving from where you started into more the tech space as now a woman in tech?
I did an interview with Jamaicans.com, and I sent them a couple of pictures. And one of the pictures I really sent them was the typical Kingston BETA scenario. There's a white guy from foreign. There's a guy from the Caribbean.
Yes.
There's definitely a millennial. Then there's someone who's not so much a millennial, and there's me.
Yes.
One woman, right? In the middle of all those men, but men from different backgrounds. And that's pretty much been the scenario through the Kingston BETA experience, because if we're to go back and look at all the people who have pitched, all those almost 400 entrepreneurs, I would say maybe 10% or less have been women.
Yes.
And those are the women that went and beat the bushes and smoke them out and say, hey, what are you working on? You mentioned something online, or I see you go somewhere, what are you working on? Come talk about it. He said, no, I don't want to pitch. And I'm seeing where, and I think it was just around 2 years ago that we actually had our first all-woman panel at Kingston BETA. It was a blogger, Shalane. It was, what's her name, who is doing the online version of Getty Images. It was Monique Powell, who now does myquickplate.com, a food delivery service. And Alison, who is an animator.
Okay.
Has her own animation studio.
Yeah.
And chose that diverse as well, because I wanted to let people realize that being a woman in tech does not mean coding, because that was a dominant messaging from global, and we seem to latch onto it without question. It would really usually piss me off.
Yes.
And it goes for everything with tech, but particularly for women, that women in tech have to realize that it's not about coding. Ironically, talk about that. I had a Women in Tech meetup the other day. It was around, I can't remember what International Women's Day was going on.
Right.
International Girls in ICT Day.
Right.
And we just kind of use a small nucleus of people that I knew to just pump out some information to some people. And we had a little bit over 40 people turn up. And it was so good to hear women who are in business intelligence, who are into cybersecurity. But they're quiet.
Yes.
So they're quiet because they have not seen a specific invitation to them. They didn't know that there was a community that they could tap into or that they could be a part of. So that was great. So I have everybody emails, I'm going to be badgering them, right? And that's probably one of the events that they're probably going to do soon, a Caribbean Women in Tech kind of an event. But the women have to see other women and have to hear their stories and feel that it's okay to step out and to own what it is that they're doing or want to do.
Yes. And
that they also have to see that there are a myriad of other opportunities on different levels. They do not have to even maybe get a degree. I think just a vast opportunity in the digital space that they can find something that matches their personality, their lifestyle, whatever it is that they want to do, and lean into it.
Yes.
So I think more of those narratives, of those stories need to be out there. And I without question, I was told that me being a woman hosting Kingston BETA for 11 years was also important, because the visibility was really crucial as well. And I'm thankful for that.
Because I actually never thought about it, but I guess I'm someone who, I guess if I want to do something, I just get on with it, and you never think about your gender and what impact it is having. Exactly.
And I mean, without question, I've had my own versions of sexism from, when Susan and I had Dashboard Interactive. It's like, where these women talk about tech, they don't know nothing about it. And, back in the day, people were like, you're in tech, and they're saying to the IT manager, which is like, what does digital marketing have to do with your IT managers? People.
Yeah.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
But of course, they're there and they're there to test you.
Mm-hmm.
And it used to piss off Susan and I, but we found a strategy around it, right? We usually play good cop, bad cop, quiet girl, loud girl. And so eventually they realized, okay, they're not to be trifled with. Leave them alone. They know what they're doing. But, and I've had it with Kingston BETA as well. People come to me and say, boy, I'm going to, have a Kingston BETA competitor, and because, you're a woman and you're in your 30s, and so you're not dealing with young people and everything.
Yeah.
I was like, nigga, bring it. He hasn't brought it yet. Right? Maybe now that I've left, he can bring it.
Yes, yes.
But those things you get over time. Your back get broad, your skin get thick, and you're like, all right, you go ahead and express your testosterone, and I'll still be here doing my thing. Yeah.
Oh, great. All right, so I think just for my final question, because we've been at it a little while.
Yes.
I guess as an entrepreneur...
Are you guys still there?
I hope so. So as an entrepreneur and a freelancer for a number of years, how do you keep excited and inspired when the drudgery threatens to overwhelm you, or things are, going slow? And as you said, here it is that your bank account is probably threatening to leave you shortly.
Let me tell you. A couple of things. I have a really good support system in terms of my friends particularly. And, your family don't really get you sometimes, and I think you're crazy. Even though recently my sister started coming to Kingston BETA, and but my niece and nephews are in tech, so they're always involved and they're there. But so definitely my close friends and family, keep you going. Trips to the beach. Midweek when nobody's there, so you can breeze out your brain and eat fish and drink a cold beer. I definitely meditate. Over the years, I had high blood pressure, insomnia, was 40 pounds overweight. I lost the weight, found yoga, found meditation. The meditation thing I do every day, or I would pretty much chop up some people. I'm just kidding. It keeps me balanced and grounded, and I'm a big believer in meditation, especially for entrepreneurs.
Right.
And motivated and traveling. Get out of the country. Get out of the country, go see what other people are doing, seeing this great, just disrupt the flow and go if you can. And generally, some regular orgasms are good. You told me to be honest, right?
Yes, okay. Please.
Regular orgasms are good. Having a partner who gets you and whatever it is awesome. And motivation too is be somebody who embraces growth.
Yes.
It is very easy to get stayed sometimes and not wanting to take the risk. Because trust me, I've been there. I've had times where it was fear that made me make certain decisions. And you can always tell because the results will kick you in your ass.
Exactly.
But when you get to that place where you want to grow and know more and do different things, that will motivate you. And when you have none of those above, and you're sitting with yourself, and you don't know what to do, in the words of Oprah, my media mogul mentor, just be still, do nothing, and just wait for your own inner guidance to tell you, okay, what's next.
Thank you very much, Ingrid.
Thank you very much, Michelle. You have me getting all weird. Thinking deep and being all philosophical and being all vulnerable with you, but I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Because I guess one of the things that I think entrepreneurs and just people in the tech community sometimes need is honesty and a certain frankness, because we all look and see people who we think are killing it.
Oh God, yes. The Instagram people and whatever it is. And it's something that I actually been using Instagram stories to tell people that they're to be more truthful. Show the ups, the ebbs and the flows, because we all have them.
Yes.
I mean, I tell people, say, listen, I'm in debt. I'm working through some debt. It's not a lot, whatever it is, but it's the most debt I've had in life. But it's not a big thing. Here's the word at Kingston BETA. I said, why, guys, I'm working off this debt. So somebody said to me, Ingrid, how much you have? So I tell them, let's bust out laughing. theirs was like millions times more than me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's like, perspective is a bitch, isn't it?
Yes.
That's why I must share where you are and what's really going on with you, because invariably there's somebody there to really make you realize that it's okay.
Yes.
It'll be all right.
Mm-hmm.
Relax.
Yeah. All right. On that note, again, thanks.
Thank you.
Before we
Go
jump
on
into
again.
them.
Yes, thank you, Michelle. I appreciate it.
That's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for listening to the ICT Pulse podcast. You can find links to some of the things we talked about on our website, ict-pulse.com. If you like this episode, please show your support by leaving us a review on iTunes, as it will help others find the show. You can email us at info@ict-pulse.com or drop us a note on our Facebook page, facebook.com/ICTPulse, or via Twitter @ICTPulse. We hope you'll join us again for our next episode. Take care.